Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another great episode of Rugby Swag. This is the show where we get to talk to people about the things that they've done and created and found through rugby, while simultaneously keeping you up to date with the news and information that's happening in this sport. Y'all, we got a great show for you today, talking about who's taking over as Japan Rugby's Sevens coach now, coming straight out of that Mike Friday branch of coaching. Also, new Dancing with the Stars representative, coming through. I think we know who we're talking about, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it. Scott Lawrence also is giving us a bit of a breakdown on what the registration is like in the U.S. for rugby. I think there's something that we need to be concerned about, something that we need to discuss and going through. And finally, of course, we're going to take a look at the MLR and the draft that happened last week and see what we're talking about. But in the meantime, let's hit that intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are now tuned in to the greatest of all time, the greatest of all time.
Welcome to the Rugby Swag Show. Welcome. Like I said, my name is Gift Time Bailu, and of course, we are going to be talking a few things today. This is actually kind of a slow week. I'm not even going to front. It's a slow week. There's not a whole bunch of rugby news, but there's always a little bit to be able to go off of. And of course, I really want to be able to talk about some of this stuff that's been going on. So I hope you guys have been having a great week up to this point. I hope you guys have a great weekend, because there's a lot of games internationally that are happening, and we're just starting to get the season into rotation, really get it kicking in, really get it moving on the way that it should be. And I think that is something that is good to be excited about, man. But as of course, before we get started, y'all, I need you guys to please, if you could, please go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and absolutely leave a comment. Thank you to everybody who continues to engage. Of course, whenever I get a chance, I try and respond back as quickly as I can. I get caught up in a lot of things, but I really do appreciate you taking the time to not only subscribe, not only watch the content, but of course, to be able to put your opinion, be able to have your conversation, and of course, be part of the participation process, man. It's great. It is absolutely great. I love it. I absolutely love it. But of course, if you guys are not solely on YouTube and just watching the channel on YouTube, please definitely go and follow us on any of our streaming platforms. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, any major streaming platform for podcast, we are there. So we appreciate it. Take the listen. Answer the questions, leave a comment, let us know what you think, man. We're really want to be able to continue to make sure that we can be part of the conversation, inform you. And if there is a way to be able to create a perspective on what's going on, man, let's be here for that. We want to be able to make sure that you can see the wider branch of it all when it's all said and done. That's what's most important. And lastly, y'all, you can follow us absolutely on social media. Now, as a result, I am based in Brazil. So as a result, I do not have access to Twitter in this moment. So you can catch us on Instagram at Rugby Swag Show. And of course, then on Facebook, on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch, you can find at Gift Time Rugby. That's at GIFTTIME Rugby. Ooh. I'm stupid. I love it. Oh, and of course, y'all, if you guys want to be able to engage while we're doing this live, of course, the live videos always seem to vary. They typically are either going to be Wednesday or Thursday. I'm going to try and do better to be able to let it be known in advance so that you have the ability to be able to come in and engage if you want. But it's crazy out here. So we want to make sure that we can do what we do. So like I said, enjoy. Thank you for participating in the videos and the comments as everything goes. All right, y'all. I don't want to hold us up much longer because we got a few things to be able to talk about. Like I said, this is a slow rugby week. Obviously, there's games happening, and we don't do a total amount of game analysis, but we'll talk a little bit about that before we head out. So in the meantime, just stay tuned. We're going to be right back after these messages with our top story of the day. This is Gifted Bailu with Rugby Swag Show We'll be right back.
I'm going to let you get back to the show in a moment, but I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Health Enhanced Foods, the best specialty flours in the business. What does that mean for you? That is the flours that allow you to be able to get the nutritious need from your bread make. That's muffins, bread, croissants, whatever, pancakes and muffins. It will give you the opportunity to be able to get the best while still being able to eat like you wanted to. We have various amounts of products available for those who have special dietary needs to those who are looking for a special health outcome. And of course, because they're part of the Rugby Swag Show, we want to let you know that you got a chance to go to healthenhancedfoods.com and use code Rugby Swag to be able to get 20% off your first order. Y'all, this is something that you're going to need. You got to build up, have your energy at the best, be the maximum. It's 2024. Let's do the best. But now I want you guys to get into it. Let's get back to the show.
Yo, welcome back. Hey, I'm checking out my guys over on Instagram. Shout out to Corey Jones, champ. Yo, he's saying if you can't hear the audio, yo, Corey, let me know if you can hear the audio because it's different for me than it is for you. If you can hear me, please let me know. All right, don't. He might be jumped out already. But all right, look, if you guys can, we'll check it out. We'll see how it all goes. But hold on, let me just make sure. Yeah, everything's working good. All right so far. Okay, I'm not even gonna trip on it. Anyways, y'all. First story of the day, man. Japan Rugby Sevens. Yo, we have an interesting situation that's going on in Japan. They went into the Olympics, sevens team, the men's sevens team. This is a team that was, fairly known for being a spoiler team. Wasn't expected to be in the gold medal round. But, again, you expected them to be formidable or whatnot. And didn't really happen. Ended up coming in 12th place for the men's side. And ultimately, their head coach, Simon Amor, stepped down from his role after that one. But needless to say, Japan is a very progressive team. They try and gotcha. I appreciate it, Corey. Thank you very much. Japan is a very, very progressive team. They are ones that are absolutely looking to continue to find their dominance inside the sport. We already see with the 15s as they brought back Eddie Jones. And with sevens, they said, look, we're going to go out and we're stepping outside into what is one of the most experienced lifting coaches, former player. They tapped into the U.S. market because he's got some freedom now. Phil Greening of USA Rugby was of USA's assistant head coach, is now officially taken over as the head coach of Japan Men's Rugby Sevens. And if you guys don't know, this guy, man, he has had a very storied career, to say the least. If you don't know, he was a former player for England. Man was a sevens player, international star. The man played for the Wasps. He played for the Sharks. He played for Gloucester. And then from there, he began his coaching career. He started as a sevens head assistant coach for England, became a contact coach for Scotland. And then ultimately, for the last 11 years, 12 years, he's been the high performance coordinator and assistant coach for the USA Sevens team and for the USA 15s team. That man has a lot of understanding on what it means to be able to build a team. And for whatever you feel was the results for the USA Sevens, you can't take away from the factor that they built a team that was formidable. Regardless of what the results were ultimately, they built a team formidable. So for this Japan side that has been known for being a spoiler team, this Japan side that is known for getting talent in the most random areas, those little Fijians and Samoans that seem to have Japanese ancestry that are part of the team, and their attempt to try and find more athletes. They're really out here trying to change the way that they're being perceived. It speaks a lot of volumes too, because it means that they also are seeing a value from the Olympic side as well as the 15 side, because this Japan side is really trying to do. Japan Rugby Union has always been really trying to make big moves And I got to appreciate this, man. So this is basically me going, yo, shout out to Phil Greening. Congratulations on the new positioning. And I hope it works out for him, man. There's not really too much to go off in that, but I really hope that it works out for him in this situation because, yo, I'd love to see this coaching tree be able to develop out even more. And again, see what maybe something that we missed as a U.S. or see what it means to be able to develop on the other side. So let me know what you guys think. For those who might have had better interaction with Phil Greening in your time, Corey, let us know what you think in the comments. But otherwise, this is a big step. I don't know how. I mean, obviously, there has John Mitchell went back to South Africa. Nigel Melville went back to England. So, even though he wasn't a coach. So I guess there is like the jump off. But at least this didn't feel like he used the U.S. and then was like, I'm going to leave as soon as I feasibly can. No, he actually did the work. He stayed, man. 11 years at one job is real. They did 3 Olympics, 3 Rugby World Cup championship, 3 Rugby World Cup sevens, and then obviously what was going on within the 15 side. So, yeah, more shout-outs to him, man. More shout-outs to him. All right. I'm not about to jump into another commercial because typically I'll jump out into another commercial and be like, hey, we'll be right back. But you know what? Like I said, it's a slow day. So I want to get moving on it. Yo, starting straight up, Ilona Maher continues to establish herself as a star globally and not simply a star of rugby, which I think is a very, very big deal. So we have talked about her basically every week since the Olympics has ended. It's basically a month since the Olympic has ended, and I feel like there's always another bit of news that goes on with Ilona every single time. And for me, I'm ecstatic by it because it ain't like small news. It ain't like some dumb ish. Like it's legitimately global celebrity stuff that you would expect from a U.S. based international player who has connections to Los Angeles, and whoever her management team are connecting the crap out of her because it was announced this week that Ilona is going to be on Dancing with the Stars. I don't even watch the show, but I know that's a big deal. You're talking about the show that had Emmett Smith on it, Warren Sapp on it. I only know football players. Jerry Rice was on it. I think there were some other stars, but I don't really care about them. And now they got Ilona Maher. Like, can you name a time a U.S. rugby person? For U.S. rugby person, a rugby person has been presented into a celebrity status, into a regime publicly where they are now absolutely getting over into it. Like, absolutely getting to it. I want to take a quick sideline. Yo, my boy Corey, real quick, and this is about the Japan story, said that is a massive jump up for Japan. I didn't know that the current coach personally, but I believe that Phil is a massive defensive-minded coach, and he will add the content to give Japan the ability. I'm going to add that in the cuts later on, but that's a good one. Thank you very much, Corey. I do appreciate you. But back to Ilona, like, this is a big deal. Last week, she was Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover model. The week before that, she's doing Good Morning America, doing every single major news show, the late night show with Seth Meyers. The week before that, she's winning bronze medal. And now she's on Dancing with the Stars. Y'all, I'm telling you, this is more of a big deal than people want to give it credit for. I had a buddy of mine talk to me, and he was like, yo, what's the sensation that makes Ilona Maher? Is it just because she showed her body? And I was like, no, it's not. She was already a sensation, and hence why she was able to do the swimsuit model, the swimsuit cover. But the real reason is, yo, homegirl did the 3 pillars that you need for any marketing and branding that was said. You need to make sure that you have a personality. You need to make sure that you have a message, and you need to make sure that you have a platform to prove your message out. And she did all 3 of that. And it took literally 4 years to really come all together and it culminate together. Because that was 2021 to 2024. So really 3 years. But I'm going to say 4 because let's say 2020 for Olympic wise. And then on top of that, we had the announcement of her wanting to get a chance to run on to the Rugby World Cup team. That is multiple big deals simultaneously. And I don't think that should be underslotted. And look, the reason this is a big deal, it's not just because, oh, she's getting this celebrity status. It is significant. As rugby people, that is a significant thing. This is what you have to be able to do. And I think as a result, the USA Rugby media team has been swamped by needing to get these press releases and trying to put things together, which I think is fantastic because it's a business model that you can build on with the attention that can be brought from that, as long as she is continuing to present on the platform that is rugby. But the real thing is, the big deal of it is that it creates a different spotlight. And now the fanaticism that goes with rugby no longer is a European-centric, Oceania-centric version of fanaticism where we can stick to these specific limitations that go with the culture, and hence it gets fed into rugby, and then we get copied here and copied in the States. No, what you now have is the version of fanaticism that can be created the American style. We utilize our big media heads to be able to create the narrative that allows them to be able to rise and grow. And that creates, unlike the economy in the US, a perfect trickle-down effect to other components of the game. And now you get to see these people connect on. So needless to say, for her to be able to be on Dancing with the Stars so quickly, honestly, I didn't even know the show was still on. But if you look on her stuff, you got Hulu responding to her. You got Paramount responding to her. She's got real celebrity status that is actually connecting. And look, you can say, oh, is it because she's got 3.5 million followers on Instagram and another 1.2 point something, 3 point something on TikTok? And I'll say, no, it's not that. It's a part of it, but it's not that solely, because there's a lot of people that have millions of followers but do not get the same amount of LA time. And we need to make sure that you're continuing to do that. And I said this in a video on my social media on TikTok and Instagram, that I was like, I feel so old when I say it, on TikTok, on the gram, and that basically was like, make sure you keep promoting. This is the year that you can promote the most, because there's going to be a lot of confirmation biases that's going to go along with what you're talking about to what people see on a regular public eye. And it comes with having a sensation representative like Ilona on that stage to be able to represent. And she's doing a good job representing. She's doing a great job. And it's obviously, I think right now it factors more so for the women than it does for the men, but the men need to jump on this as well. The men absolutely 100% need to be able to jump on this as well. And I think that is something that needs to stand out pretty hardcore. All right, pretty bloody hardcore. So shout out to Ilona on this one. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. How do you feel about this? Like, I know, I will be honest with you, I don't watch Dancing with the Stars. I'm not a big network TV guy, and I don't really care that much about reality shows, but I do recognize whenever it's a big deal. Just like the late night TV. Like, there's a side of the country that absolutely watches it. It's a majority of the country, in my opinion, especially in middle America. And when it comes to Dancing with the Stars, it's a much bigger name and a much bigger outcome. And I bet you we're going to see her more on social media news. Like I said, watch out for like the Shade Room, and maybe that's a little black, but Shade Room and all these little, TMZs and all that, to start watching for her, because she's based in San Diego. She's got connections clearly in LA. Her management team is clearly based out of LA. She's gonna eat. If she doesn't have an agent now, she's going to have an agent. I don't know if it's a sports agent, but if she has a sports agent, she's probably going to get a casting agent. And I would not be surprised that if you, in the next year and a half, especially maybe by next year's summertime, that she's not going to be in some films or TV. And if she is, I'm telling you, it's going to change the way that we have to go about rugby. But like I said, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know where you guys are. And look, we'll keep doing it. Hey, you know what the thing is? I forgot to do my little intro because I have one for Ilona. So bear with me. I'm going to do the intro now, even though it's coming to the end of this. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. There we go. Okay, I had to do it because I keep forgetting. So just expect that the next time we talk Ilona Maher news. So, bring it in. I had to get it into the repertoire, man. All right, y'all. We're gonna be right back after these messages. Man, when I talk about like what's going on in MLR, hey, this is what we're about to be about. We're gonna talk MLR draft and thoughts that went with it. We'll be right back after these messages. Just stay tuned.
Buckwheat is changing lives. My name is Gift Belu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to tell you about one of my favorite products on our shelves, buckwheat baking mix. Buckwheat is a seed that is incredibly nutrient and protein dense. But what makes it even more important, that buckwheat baking mix is absolutely gluten-free. A lot of times whenever people have buckwheat mixes, they actually even hold wheat inside of it. So you know it's not fully gluten. And if you're a person that is celiac or diabetic, or you're just really trying to be health conscious, it's not something that you want to have to worry about. What makes our buckwheat baking mix even more important is that it is versatile. You can use it for pancakes, you can use it for waffles, you can use it for making loaves of bread, you can make it for cupcakes. But what helps even more is that it is allergen free, it is nut free, it is dairy free, that there is no additional additives in it. There's no leavening there, so that if you want to be able to raise your bread, you can put in the baking powder yourself and get it fluffy. If you don't, you absolutely do not have to. You get the bread that you love without the cost to your health. You can absolutely find buckwheat baking mix at healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely check it out. Get your nostalgia back. Get back to eating and loving the way that you are, and absolutely get back to the energy that you know that you can get without having to destroy yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing you get it. Let's go.
Yo, welcome back, y'all. Look, if you guys didn't know, Major League Rugby had their MLR draft this past week, last week, exactly 9 days ago, they had their draft. And, it's a draft, for MLR, 3 rounds, solid expectations. I always say it's a little bit difficult to get an assessment of the players themselves because of the difficulty of being able to watch a lot of college rugby. Now, mind you, when it comes to some semifinals and championship games, obviously the sevens tournaments in general, you get to catch some of these players. But again, when there's so many players that are at hand and there's so many clubs that don't have a full storyline behind them, it's hard to know exactly how good a player is respectively. I think this is one of the situations where we even got caught up by that. While this is an MLR, this happened with the Olympics with Lucas Lecamp. And, there's going to be people that have been like, I already knew who Lucas Lecamp was. Like, I've known him since day one. Like, okay, that's great. But for others, like, you didn't typically watch UCLA rugby because it's not a consistent TV network that's showing UCLA rugby games, and you might have seen it in little bits and pieces at club champion at these championship matches or so, but you didn't get to see how legitimate like that guy was until you get into the biggest stage like the Olympics or even HSBC 7 series, and like, oh, this dude is kind of legit. Like, this dude's got something that's perfect. So with this one, I felt like it was the same. I knew a couple people that got drafted on there, but I simply did not know anybody. So when I'm going to talk about it right now, I'm talking about it in the positioning that I'm looking at how they presented the draft, because I think it's really more important how the MLR is presenting their draft versus so much like who exactly was getting drafted, because even as draft picks, there's no guarantees. The stakes are significantly low. Obviously, if you guys hear rumors back and forth, the payment isn't that great. So there's not like a whole lot to be able to hold on to on the players themselves. But again, presentation, the entertainment value, that is why you have a visible draft. Like, the reason is because it is a public presentation of your future, and you want to be able to get people excited and attached to what your season is going to look like with these new additions. So let's go take a look at what the MLR was able to do this week with the last week with their presentation and kind of break a little bit of it down. Now, mind you, I'm not going to go over every little bit of it simply because of the fact that I don't want to get copyright struck too much. But there's a few things I just wanted to mention on that I thought were particularly interesting that came with it. So first and foremost was how they kicked it off. So obviously, most times whenever you think about a draft or so, you tend to come in with the belief system that you will be able to watch it live. You're going to see the reactions of the people who got drafted, and there's a whole experiential moment of like people getting a chance to live their dream and extend into this next level. And we take this from like the NFL draft, the NBA draft, not so much the baseball draft, even though I think they're trying to start to get that to that level. And obviously, if you watch hockey, maybe there's something there, but there's not something that's common amongst most other sports around the world. I don't think there's a cricket draft, and obviously there's not a soccer draft because that's a whole slew of things. So this is particularly interesting. So like I said, it's set up for that. Whenever they did it in this one, I thought it was unique that they didn't do this live. It seems that they made this more of a video program. This is more it's a show, but it's a pre-recorded as opposed to doing it in the moment. And when I first saw that, it confused me because at least initially I was like, what are you going to be able to do with the reactions? Like, how do you maintain all that? But I was like, I think this is kind of a good idea, especially at this point that the MLR needs to do things that are a little bit, one, cost effective, of course, that are absolutely cost effective, but two, that function more for later viewing as opposed to appointment viewing. Like the MLR draft is not quite appointment TV at this moment. It doesn't have enough gravitas to be able to do that. So to be able to do it as almost like a short documentary clip, it gives you a little bit more creative freedom of how you can express these players and teams out to where they are, and you can have a little bit more of a predictive model for it. So like just this intro alone, I thought was actually pretty good. And I'm going to go into it right now. Let's show it.
A dream to one day become a professional athlete. Then comes the work, learning the game, training your body to run like a machine, to compete like a warrior, to endure the hardships that make greatness possible, to push through to glory, willing yourself that with enough focus and determination, a dream can one day become a reality. Today, for 36 college athletes, the opportunity to play professionally in Major League Rugby will finally come true. It is time to announce this year's 2024 Major League Rugby College Draft selections.
Yeah, right there. Like I like that. That's a good intro. It's a good anticipator. It, again, like I said, it provides a much more of a programming aspect than maybe necessarily you get live. Now, I do think that part of that aspect that gets lost without doing a live is that reaction, seeing how it affects players. But it's also a lot of work to gather people together who are not sure, especially if they're going to get drafted or not. People who, even the process in getting the drafted is variable. They explain it well on this. And then add to that, it's just like, what, is the stakes worth it for that weight? And again, not right now. It can be for later, but not right now. And I think they've tried it. And I think there was still some live draft party stuff that happened around, but that's different. It's not on the buck of the MLR. So the other thing that I did appreciate was that they had basically a singular host doing it. It was Mike Petrie. If you guys don't know Mike Petrie was a former scrum half and captain for USA Rugby. He played for the New York Ironworkers until the Ironworkers folded. Has coaching at Xavier High School, which is based out of New York as well. Legendary player, man, had been in this a long time. I did like the fact that they had basically a host to be able to guide through this. I did think that it was a good idea to have that. My takeaway was I wish they had had multiple ones, because again, you have this opportunity where since you're not doing it live, you can film and record people in their respective times in preparation for this. So like you can make it more documentary style and giving all these different perspectives of what these players are, or what does it mean to be in the league, while kind of shifting through the draft process and really getting to understand, what the significance of this is. Because again, this is all storytelling. Like, these draftees are at the chapter 1 of this book called the MLR. So you want to be able to have this aspect where you're introducing us to these characters that are in it. And I feel like you could have done that with multiple people. Mike Petrie was solid. I do feel like there was an issue, though, with personality. I think he was very dry. It sounded a little tired on it. And I would want somebody to be a little bit more excited on this. And let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's see if I can find where they broke down the what it takes to get drafted. All right.
Anthem Rugby Carolina selected Eric Storty from St. Mary's College of California. Eric is 24 years old, 6 foot, 200 pounds, plays center out of St. Mary's College, one of the best collegiate programs in the country. Local California kid, played his high school rugby at De La Salle High School. He played 5 years at St. Mary's, going to a program in Anthem that is committed to developing domestic U.S. talent. Everyone had him on their radar. Eric's already been in the USA Eagle player pool. It's only a matter of time before he gets his first cap. He's athletic. He runs fast.
All right. So you get it. Like, okay, you're reading off, and it's very dry. Like, again, I'm not excited. I'm just learning about who this guy is. It's like, cool, he's accomplished, but I'm not excited. Okay, cool. He's the first overall pick. But what? I need that personality to be like, yo, this is Eric Storty. Yo, he went to De La Salle. Yo, one of the best high schools in the country. This guy was an absolute beast whenever he was in high school, and he took it that much further when he went to St. Mary's. Like, this man scored try after try. He is strong. That's what you want. So if you don't have a person who can do that for 36 draft picks, that is a lot to do for 36 draft picks. That's why you typically have 2, 3, 4 people on there. You want to be able to have it broken down into different people, and you bring those different personalities. Again, I'm not saying that they need to do it live. I'm just saying that you had an opportunity that you already know who you're picking. The drafts were done beforehand. The players already know what's going on. Like, if you go look through, they have the guys have already done green screen work and all that good stuff. And probably a lot of them are local, so they're within their areas. Obviously, St. Mary's is all the way out in California, and freaking Eric is going all the way to North Carolina. But again, like, the concept is you've already the work here is not to give me the listicles. The work here is to get me excited and hype. I should want to run through a wall with excitement for these players as a disconnected person from the team. So I thought this was a little bit the personality wise might not have been a great fit. Again, Mike Petrie is a legend in the game. Not hating on him as a player or a coach or what he's done. I'm just felt like maybe he himself by himself should not have been the sole host for this entire process, because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to do. But I did like that the work that they did. The camera work was really good. He looks good on there. And they brought this stuff together. Like, let's look at another.
For the Seattle Seawolves. With the 24th overall.
So again, you get some of these aspects where, again, I feel like you could have used more dynamic artistry. You have time. You have time to do. Like, you have time to build this up. And again, this is probably the media company. Maybe this is a money thing. I don't know. But when I'm saying that you want to put your best foot forward on this, so that when November comes around, like, we're getting hyped, like, we're building the story going into it, I need the energy. I need the energy with it. But again, you know, I know it's a process, and they're trying something new, and I think it's a good thing they try something new. I'm actually glad they didn't do this live, because I don't know if it would have the same gravitas at this point. Use the video until you built up enough energy, then bring it live so people can feel like they can be a part of it, because you've done so much to bring it up. So, you know, those are just my thoughts on it. Again, shout out to everybody who got picked up. I know the one person that stood out to me with Leon Pantor, part of the Pantor family dynasty out of Trinidad and Tobago. If you guys don't know them, Nicolette, Jaron, and Leon Pantor. And then, of course, their dad, who's all just rugby. Like, that's a rugby family dynasty of going through. So Jaron, I said Jaron and Leon. But like, man, shout out to them. But that was really the only one I really recognized. And again, you know, I don't know that much of the college players, because I don't focus in that heavily into it, because I don't think it's still synchronized well enough for me. But there's a lot of people. Shout out to our guys over at Rugby Morning. You know, shout out to Goff. Shout out to Jackie Finland with the rugby breakdown for the women's side that have it. And shout out to Wendy Young with your Scrum Half Connection, that kind of gets a little bit more overlay, and they call it that collegiate area. But yeah, I just feel like this is storytelling. We want to get the storytelling right, and if you're not doing it, and really starts with this, you know, what are you taking advantage of in your rugby? Like, what are you trying to be able to make sure you can do with that? Because it's not the necessity of the process; it's only how the presentation goes. So, you know, hopefully, again, MLR is constantly trying to test things and progress it. I think I give them commendation for that. They're utilizing their rugby network a lot better as a central hub for a lot of sports, which means they get a lot of footage, which means they can utilize that footage with their picks and their decisions, hopefully, you know, in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, shout out to them on that one. All right, y'all. We're gonna be back after this. Y'all, we just got, I think we got one more story. We got one more story left. Man, Scott Lawrence continues to show us kind of his mindset as time continues on. This is a little bit of a shorter one, but we'll be right back after this. Just hang tight, baby. Hang tight.
There's wheat flour that you can eat. My name is Gift Time at Baylor. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods. And I want to tell you about one of our best and most beloved products, our sweet white wheat baking mix. Now, this is the baking mix for those who are not really looking for something that's gluten-free, but they are looking for something that they can eat that is going to still be healthy and is not going to be dangerous. White flour is typically a very processed, incredibly bleached flour, and it's not good for you. It's incredibly cheap for a reason. Our sweet white wheat bread mix is whole grain, dairy-free, high in dietary fiber, free of additives, and is absolutely unprocessed and unrefined. With our sweet white wheat bread mix, you can feel like you're getting all the same rewards that you would get from poor white bread, but with all the nutritional value. You're able to still make your bread loaves or your cakes, your flat bread or your cookies, but you don't have to feel like you are going to be robbing yourself of good carbohydrates. You can get the sweet white wheat bread mix from healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely go impress your friends and family with the greatest bread while not making them feel like they have to be gluten-free at the same time. No dangers, full body pleasures. Go ahead and get yours today. Let's go.
Welcome back. All right, man. Look, we have one last story for you. Scott Lawrence, man. Scott Lawrence continues to show what his thought process is in development of rugby and how he's trying to continue to motivate and build the systems together. I think the last time we talked about Coach Scott Lawrence, we were looking at his Moonshot website and the analytics that they're looking for in their players and how to be able to select. Obviously, if you guys, as we just talked about, Major League Rugby Draft, or North Carolina Anthem. The Carolina Anthem is the USA Rugby arm of MLR, basically trying to develop USA national eligible players in all ways, shape, or form. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're from or born in the US, but they are eligible to be able to play for the USA team. And so they're drafting that to be able to develop that. But he put this out on LinkedIn, and if you guys don't know, like, Scott Lawrence doesn't have social media normal, but he drops a lot on LinkedIn. So if you want to see his thought process, he's definitely given information over there, and I give him credit for that. I give him credit. You know, I will critique a lot, but I'm gonna give credit where credit is due, and the due-ness is there. So he dropped this over on the his LinkedIn, and basically he wanted to provide kind of an aspect of how SIP registration is and how that kind of all breaks down to the number of players that are playing in the US. If you guys remember from last week, we talked about how USA Youth and High School Rugby had announced their 50,000 registered players at that time, and how our guy McFeely, friend of the show, basically bemoaned that as a celebration and used the comparison to USA Soccer. And basically, like, our numbers are just way low, and I think they might be lower than they were pre-COVID still. And so Scott Lawrence had dropped this earlier this week, or late last week, earlier this week, and basically kind of confirmed what Mick was talking about, even though his intention was not to bemoan it, but it really stood out from this. And essentially, it's that the SIP registration for the US right now is sitting at a measly 81,715 people. And he broke it down per state, which was kind of wild to me. I'm going to bring this up on his actual LinkedIn page just in case, so you can actually maybe see it a little bit better. But it came off. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's big this up just a little bit. So basically, what we're seeing off of this is that our SIP registrations are basically handling where you most would consider it in the Washington area. In California at 13, California has the highest number of registrations at 13,701 SIP registrants for SIP registrants for in general, in players for that are just in general like, not just collegiate, not draft eligible, nothing like SIP registered in general. So we're talking 13,701 divided by the 81,715. Yo, California makes up alone almost 20% of our population of registrants. And then from there, the biggest one goes Texas, which, Texas Rugby Union has consistently grown. California, Pennsylvania, Florida, and then Ohio, and then Washington State, which, I'm going to be honest with you, I knew Florida had a good population. I didn't know they had this many registrants. And I think that's one that is not being cultivated well enough. Obviously, they put MLR Miami out there, but I don't think it's being cultivated well enough to justify the utilization of what they're doing down there. Texas, we see people call all the time, California all the time, the West Coast all the time, New York all the time, but we barely talk about Florida. And Florida, from a club side, is so disconnected from the rest of rugby that you don't really pay attention until they do something significant, like the massive run that University of Central Florida had in the collegiate years back in like 2014 to 2020, something to that effect, 2019 maybe, and then from there, the next highest goes was Colorado, Utah, and then those are the highest. But then next ones down, you have North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, again, the DMV area, not surprised about. Great youth connection that's over there. Indiana and Illinois, Chicago really holding up for Illinois, Indiana. And then kind of the last of the 4 digits, you have, and if you guys want, I'm gonna post, I'll share this on to the website gifttimerugby.com so you guys can get a link directly to it, and I'll put in the YouTube video as well so you can link to the picture itself. But like, yeah, Arizona, and then Oregon, Idaho, though I always surprised Oregon was less, but maybe not too super surprised. And then what really got me was where the hundreds were, which is Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina, Detroit, I think Jersey as well, if I'm seeing it correct. No, Jersey's 4 digits. The Wyoming's, I guess that's not too surprising. Iowa was up there. Wisconsin, I was surprised. I'm sorry, not Wisconsin. Minnesota, I'm surprised is lower, considering that they've had such a strong youth program for such a long time with Minnesota Youth Rugby. I would have thought they would have at least been above 1,000. Kansas is only 600. New Mexico, again, not surprised, is at 485. And then the Dakotas combined are less than 100. Which is, again, wow, your farm boys. Montana, where Nicole Haverland is 674. So like it's in a way you go into it and you kind of see like the difficulty of some of these hotbed spots. And then the places where you have the largest populations, very spread out, but it clearly is, there's a lot that needs to go. And even if it say that it's more than what other countries maybe could have, I don't even know if that's true anymore. But when we look at it compared to our population, which what we're talking about, 350 million people. It's a fraction. It's 0.00023% of the population, which gets to show in our how our national teams play, and gets to show how like our performance is treated. It's not great. So we need to do, like Scott Lawrence said, there's a lot to grow. They want to be able to grow, but this is why I go, like, it's a big deal where you have an Ilona Maher. It's a big deal if you have a professional, but you have to present the story. It's a big deal how your youth rugby system is going, because you have to develop down there, because they're the ones that grow up further into that. And man, it's rough to see. It's rough to see. I remember whenever 2009, we were supposed to be somewhere around 100,000. This is where we were considered as one of the fastest growing sports in the nation. And what was that? That was 2014. That was, and it has not gone well. And you can say COVID, but I'm pretty confident We saw constriction even around 2019, maybe late 2018, whenever the bankruptcy happened. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are on this. I want to know, like, how do you feel with the population for the U.S. and those who are in different countries? Like, how do you feel it compares to what you have in your place? Is, you know, especially for the major rugby countries, from a population standpoint to a registration standpoint, how does that factor in together? I want to know. I want to know. And y'all, So let me know what you guys think. All right, y'all. We got some final words at this. We're gonna get to a final commercial break. Gonna talk some final thoughts and process on what we got for this week and what to look forward to, and then we're gonna let you go, man. Gonna let you go. This is Gifted Bailu with the Rugby Swag Show. We'll be right back.
Don't you love a great ketogenic family? My name is Gifted Bailu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Food. I wanted to talk to you about one of our top baking mixes, and that is our ketogenic baking mixes. We got a ketogenic seed baking mix, our ketogenic almond baking mix, and of course, our ketogenic coconut baking mix. Now, what is so important about it being ketogenic? Now, for those who don't know, ketogenic means that it is utilizing low carbs to be able to eat from. The point of it is so that your body will naturally activate burning from your fat and be able to sustain off your proteins rather than feeding your body carbohydrates and your body simply burning that and you just don't lose weight. And so whenever you're doing that process, it's incredibly difficult. And of course, you're always going to have a craving for wanting to eat the breads and the carbs that you typically would have. With our keto baking mixes, you can have the pancakes, the waffles, the cookies, the cakes, the pizza crust that you absolutely desire without sacrificing the work, your diet, and obviously the results that you are trying to get. All our ketogenic baking mixes are gluten-free, grain-free, plant-based, and absolutely loaded with natural vitamins and minerals. We want to make sure that they are low net carb, they have no added sugar, they are protein rich, they have good healthy fats, but even more importantly, they have a low glycemic level. So for those who are diabetic and you're also still trying to find something, we have the baking mixes that are for you. And I'm sure you're wondering, why make 3 versions of them if they all are basically doing the same thing? Well, we wanted to make sure, as always, that we are trying to specialize to your dietary need. So with our ketogenic coconut, we wanted to give you a version that allows you to have a sweeter breads without sacrificing your diet. But it provides you things that you can make with your cakes, you can make your cookies, but you can be able to not have to lose your mind trying to find things that can satiate the taste without ruining your diet. With our ketogenic almond baking mix, that is one that has probably the highest protein content. It allows you to be able to control your blood sugar levels, reduce your blood pressure, lower cholesterol levels, and of course, it goes to promoting weight loss and being able to control the hunger. And for our ketogenic seed, this is for those who have a nut allergy and they can't take anything like the almonds. So we want to give them still the same thing. You can still make your bread. You can still make your pizza crust. You can still make your cakes and your buns and your muffins, but you don't have to worry about having an allergic reaction. You definitely can go check out the ketogenic line of products at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, keep up with your diet, get the foods that are necessary to keep you going, and let's get the results that you absolutely deserve. Let's go.
All right, y'all. Like I said, just some final words on it. I think this is a very interesting week of rugby. Of course, if you guys don't know, there's a lot of international games that are happening. I think namely the Rugby Championships. Definitely go check those out. South Africa versus Brazil. South Africa versus New Zealand for the second round of that 2-part battle. And then you have Argentina taking on Australia again, trying to see if they can get a win out of that. Another one that I thought was really good was going to be Brazil versus Argentina for the men's side. That one should be interesting. Women's side are having I feel like a mini Six Nations. It's not the WXV yet, but the mini Six Nations going on there with Wales taking on Scotland, and just a nice game, pretty solid game. Look at the Pacific Nations Cup. USA in the semifinals, going up against Japan. If they do win this out, the Pacific Nations Cup have an automatic bid into, I think, 2027 Rugby World Cup, which is a big deal. Got to be a very, very big deal for the U.S. to not have to go through more work than they need to. They beat, obviously, Canada 28-15 last week. So, it's all things, man. There's a lot to be able to go. But, man, we're about 2 weeks away from it really being the full onrush, full WXV1. Really more test matches for the next month. It's going to get real. But in the meantime, y'all, I want you guys to continue to go check out some of our other stuff. This week, we got a great interview with Olympian legend Chris Thomas with USA Rugby Women's Sevens. Obviously, bronze medalist, longtime speedster wing for the USA team. Great conversation with her. Absolutely great conversation. So definitely go check it out. I think it comes out officially on Friday the 6th. So whenever you hear this, it'll be out probably either the next day or it'll have already been out. I don't know whenever you're going to listen to it. But in the meantime, y'all, I hope that you guys are happy. I hope that you guys are healthy. Most importantly, I hope that you know that you are truly, truly highly favored. Until next time, y'all. Cheers.